All right, welcome to the BSP exercise where we're going to identify the 5 core beliefs of your target audience. This is probably one of the more powerful ones. Actually, it's probably the most powerful. When you see how it connects with the change you're trying to create, when you see how it lives within the context of the entire marketplace of how we used to look at it in terms of demographics, when you see how much more impactful and how much better you can make everything just by understanding this one thing, this becomes a very powerful exercise. I would say it's probably one of the most important in the entire course. So if there's any exercise that you do, then it would be this one. So follow along. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. So by the end of this exercise, the goal is to have the 5 core beliefs that form the foundation of your core patient group's BSP or belief system profile. After this, what we're going to do is we're going to do a scale viability exercise. So we're going to get your 5 core beliefs. We're going to get the unique profile from them. And then we're going to test them against the market and see if it's actually something that is viable. Is it small enough so that it's not mass marketing, so that it's not diluting your message, it's not average? Is it small enough that you actually stand out, that you can actually delight a group of people rather than just be another commodity? And then we're going to test, is it large enough? So we'll do all that right after this. But let's get into the BSP exercise. So a critical thing to understand is that we're not trying to get 5 different beliefs to kind of cherry pick and like a sports game draft. We're not trying to create the ideal team of beliefs. We're trying to create a belief that is actually grounded in reality. So we want to avoid thinking things like, let me invent the perfect patient who wants the change I want. What beliefs do I need to make my change possible? We don't want to lead with beliefs. So our 5 beliefs must form a coherent belief system shared by real humans. Real humans is the key. Beliefs that are plausible in isolation is not enough. So you can believe something. You can believe something about identity, and you can believe something about change or something about health in isolation. But maybe when they come together, they're incompatible. Maybe those beliefs aren't shared by people. So they must work together as a belief system in the real world. So step 1 is to recall your change. And if you haven't done the change exercise, go ahead and do that right now. It's going to enable this really powerful exercise. So write down the change that you want to bring. I'm assuming you've already done that. This will guide your selection, not dictate it. And what I mean by selection is selection of beliefs. I'll probably rewrite the exercise so it's more detailed. Step 2 is identify 3 real people. So write down 3 real people who would appreciate or benefit from your change the most. So they can be current or past patients, someone in your community, a friend or family member who shares that worldview, or a role model. For me personally, I chose 3 role models. I read a lot of books, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the belief systems, a lot of the authors. So that's why I chose role models. You only need 3 people who naturally lean towards the change you want to make. So who are 3 real people who would want the change that I want to make? We want to just write down people you think would want that change. Step 3 is to identify the belief pattern. So across the 3 people that you chose, look for recurring patterns in how they think, how they act, and how they interpret situations. So now, once we kind of get those 3 people and analyze them in terms of how they would think in terms of patterns, we apply that to the 3 categories. The identity belief, the value belief, avoidance belief, cost belief, and health belief. Identity belief, we want to ask, what does being a good or responsible person mean to them? What core trait defines who they are? And then we want to answer in the format of people like them blank. Now, our answers to these questions, to these beliefs, should reflect across all 3 of them at about 80%. So you might not be like, yeah, that's exactly how they would think, but okay, this person would probably agree with this 80%. We want at least 80% across all 3. So same thing with value belief. What do they consistently prioritize even when it's inconvenient? What principle matters most to them? So what are their values? They value blank. Avoidance belief, what negative emotion do they absolutely want to avoid? What do they fear or try to protect themselves from? They want to avoid blank. Cost belief, what do they consider a smart or responsible decision? How do they decide something is quote unquote worth it? They believe a good decision is one that blank. And finally, health belief, how do they view health? Is it something to maintain, fix only when broken, avoid thinking about, or actively invest in? One switch you could make here if you want is switch health to dental health or a belief about dentistry. Both work. To them, health or dentistry means blank. And if you need to, write out a few. So for example, for identity, I wrote out a couple of identities that I wasn't sure was best, and then I circled the one that worked best. These 5 selected beliefs become your belief system profile. So these 5 in conjunction are your belief system profile. Step 4 is a coherence check. Is this based on reality or is it more of a delusion? Could all 3 people I listed reasonably share all 5 of these beliefs? So we went through and we said, okay, 80% they're all going to agree on this, all going to agree on this. But in combination, would the 3 real people, like now we looked at it horizontally, now look at it laterally. Can this guy share all beliefs at once? Or a guy or girl, and do it for all 3 people. So if no, your belief section is not grounded, go back, see if you can remove that person who didn't fit, and find 3 people who align with the belief system. So just try to replace one. The goal is to check if, the goal is to get a belief system and then check if it's grounded in reality. So if it's still no, just repeat it until you have a coherent, grounded, realistic belief system, a cluster of real humans who interpret events in a similar way.